So I've been working at Warner Brothers
Okay.
all week. And I came off set yesterday, and I realized I was standing on y'all's set,
Yeah,
right?
to say,
Because there's like a
home.
big trash bag or something, and I see the two little like black
Mhm.
kids' face with the alphabets, and I'm like, why does this look? This is the elementary school, right? So at that exact moment,
Yeah.
one of those little tour golf carts went by, and the people are like, wow, Abbott Elementary, that's Captain America. So Tyler, my man, good to see you
Good
again.
to see you, brother.
Congratulations. Since the last time I saw you, you like been nominated for an Emmy 35 times and won like 20.
No,
and
it's just two. It's just two.
yeah, and you
know what I'm
kind of
saying?
like
Well, same thing, though.
No,
You're
absolutely not. I didn't even get
everywhere.
nominated for a BET
But-
award. I didn't even get an independent. I ain't got nothing. They like, man.
But you're saving the world. You're saving the world.
Not
all
with
over the
awards,
place.
yes. Not
We're
yes.
saving the world. We've come a long way. Last time I saw you, we were doing Detroit.
Yeah. We were
With
doing
Kathryn
the
Bigelow.
press tour. I think it was in Toronto or something.
Something like that.
It was at Toronto Film Festival.
Yes.
All of us were there.
Yes, we were all there.
It was a long time ago.
Very long time
You were
ago.
in your mid-20s.
Yes.
You remember, you was a kid, dog.
I was a child.
You was a kid.
I was a baby. I was
remember
barely able to drink.
You asked for like a cup of milk, and you was eating those.
Where my cookies at?
The peanut. What are those cookies? The peanut butter cookies.
Those little.
I'm lying. I'm just making this.
Can
up.
someone please show my pistachios for me? I'm a child. Please.
Nah, but congratulations on everything.
Thank you, brother.
Man.
Same.
It's really amazing to see, like, because you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, you've done it in a really interesting way that a lot of actors have not been able to. I feel like, you know, when looking at your career, there's a certain thing of, like, a certain form of dignity that came with it, because you're not the dude out here doing what certain people do.
Yeah.
You know, it's something to say when you get a job and that job becomes a career.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
kudos to you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's I never wanted to be a nostalgia artist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was always about like going down the road and seeing what was next. But again, I can say the same thing for you.
No, but you was a weird looking kid.
Yeah, I mean.
And you grew up to be like a good looking dude.
I want to say we were all weird looking kids. I haven't seen, mine was just documented. I haven't seen your photo.
Exactly. And you would never see it.
Exactly. Mine was just documented, extensively.
Daily.
But yeah, to be able to go from there to here has been like, it's been a beautiful journey.
So what was that like? Like when you just going from the beginning, because you've been in it for a while, since before Everybody Hates Chris.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know your family is a strong foundation and, you were surrounded by good people. But how did that work, blowing up so hard at a young age and everybody knowing you, to transitioning to a professional adult actor?
Yeah, that was weird, man. Like, cause one day I was in New York, I want to say it was like 2004, and I was just another face in the crowd. And then for that show, they did such a big press run. They put my face on every bus in New York City.
Right.
So it went from just like, I just live here, to everyone in the city knows exactly what I look like. So it was strange. But then afterwards, I don't know, there was this nice like survival aspect of it. I felt like I had to fight for my career to survive. And I feel like if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't have gone as hard as I did. That's what it felt like. I was fighting for, like, the ability to stay, the staying power. To just say that this wasn't just a cute kid who could, land a joke every now and then. I had to go on this road of proving I was able to stay here and hold my own with people. That's where, like, if I didn't really start to feel stable in it until we did Detroit.
Right.
It wasn't until I saw who else was being brought into this project that I was like, okay, I feel like I'm on solid ground now. I'm in here with, Anthony Mackie and John Boyega, and you know what I mean, like, and Kathryn Bigelow.
Bigelow, right?
That's when I was like, okay, I have some solid footing here. But I've noticed that with most people, though, it feels like everyone has that period in their career to some extent, right? When you're transitioning from theater, or when you're, you have a role here and a role
Mhm.
there to like, no, I'm going to consistently work with great people. I feel like you made that transition really well. I remember being young and I saw She Hate Me.
Crushed it.
You did. You did. You did. I remember that because I just done a
Didn't
movie
crush
with
it. Everybody,
Kerry
a lot of
Washington.
people hated that movie.
I love that movie. To tell you the truth, I really love
I
that movie.
loved it.
I love
but
that movie.
It was my my hood classic. Well, it is my hood classic.
I loved that movie. It like, to me, particularly as a Black actor, there's certain things that we choose to do
Mm-hmm.
for our audience and for our community.
Mm-hmm.
But choosing to do that in a way that takes that many artistic and creative risks is
Mhm.
not always something that goes well.
Right.
I thought you and Carrie were great in that.
Yeah. Carrie and I at one point had like a run.
Mhm.
And I met Kerry Washington when she was 20. She was at George Washington University,
Wow.
and she would come up to New York to see shows, and her family was from New York. And at that time, I was at Juilliard, so we would always bump into each other at different plays, at different openings, different shows.
Right.
And because of that, we became associates. We knew each other, so we kind of grew up together, and we're the same age. So
Right.
we kind of grew up together in the scope of the business, with working with Spike to working on different projects together and seeing our careers,
Right.
take the paths they did. But She Hate Me was interesting, dude, and for many different reasons. One, working with Spike and being the only lead of the 2 Spike movies that nobody saw. Like, cause my first movie I did with Spike, the Variety said this is Spike Lee's best work. Nobody saw it.
What movie is this?
Exactly. It was a movie called Sucker Free City. And it was supposed to be Showtime's answer to The Wire.
Right.
And
yeah.
we shot it and crushed it. Spike was supposed to direct. It was supposed to be a series.
Okay.
Spike, but the pilot was a straight up movie. And the head of Showtime left. They brought in another dude. Him and Spike didn't quite see eye to eye.
Got it.
Then all of a sudden, all the wheels fell off.
Happens
And
more times than people would like to.
and that's
happens
the
all the
big
time.
thing. This
All the
business
time.
is so humbling because you can put in work.
Right.
And one decision can
Throw it away.
Spike Lee,
Yeah.
by the way. One decision, not Spike Jones, Spike Lee. One
Good
decision
differential.
can like derail your entire
Right.
career. Because when I got that job, funny enough, I went in and auditioned for Spike here at Showtime in Westwood.
Okay.
Right? And I'll never forget going in, auditioning for Spike over Zoom and getting a job. And it's Spike Lee,
Right.
And I get the job, and it was crazy. I felt like I had arrived. And one day we were on set, and Volkswagen had just released a Touareg. And his dealer came over, and he goes, "Yo, who's the lead of this movie?" And he brought him over to me. He was like, "Yo, you're the lead of the Spike Lee movie. We want to give you a car." And I'm like, "You're giving me a car?"
That's the Hollywood experience.
Dude.
For everyone. That's the full.
They literally,
His video.
here, take this. I'm like, oh, snap. So the whole time I'm in San Francisco, I have this Volkswagen that ain't even out yet.
Yeah.
I'm rolling hard, like I went and put 10 on it.
Right.
'Cause I'm just losing my mind.
You're living it.
I'm living. And the movie came out, and it was just silence because Showtime put it out on Showtime without any commercials,
Right.
without anything.
Right.
They were just
They
like,
were
we
still
just need
building
to
at the
float
time,
this
too.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was weird. So while we were shooting that, Jeffrey Wright was supposed to do She Hate Me. And I
That'd been
just
interesting
happened to
time.
be on set one day, and Spike was like, the way Spike do, right? So I'm like, "Yo, Spike, what up?" He goes, "Man, Jeffrey's not doing my movie." I was like, "Oh, that's too bad, man. I'm sorry to hear that." So we get into work. So at the end of the day, he goes, "What you doing after this?" Nothing. I'm like, I go job to job, man.
Exactly.
It's, So literally a week later, my agent called me. He's like, "I guess things are going well with Spike. He offered you another movie." So I read it, and She Hate Me came across very Shakespearean to me,
Mm-hmm.
with the different plot levels, the
Mm-hmm.
different character expositions,
Right.
and the different relationships, and the formulaic nature of how those characters related to each other was
Mm-hmm.
very Shakespearean to me. So it spoke to me in a lot of different ways. And the idea of when that movie came out, the cover of the New York Times Magazine was a 40-year-old professional lady sitting in an office, and the headline was "Looking for Mr. Good Sperm." So that movie
The
was
timing.
more
Yeah,
realistic with the
the timing was
timing
perfect.
than people led on to it
Right.
being. You know, it was because that was around the time that doctor had impregnated
Right,
like
all those
200
people,
women
yes, yes,
the exact same
yes,
time.
yes.
So all these women started paying like younger men with college degrees,
Uh-huh.
athleticism, all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff for their sperm.
Right.
You know, so it was just a really it was a really interesting project to be a part of, and work with Spike is, you know,
To be able to do that.
yeah,
I mean, you had the same thing with Kathryn Bigelow. You've worked with her how many times now? Twice? 3 times?
twice. Yeah. But Kathryn's the home team. Like nobody really understands. You know, Jeremy Renner, Brian Garrity,
Mm-hmm.
Kathryn Bigelow, and I were in the Jordanian desert in 2007 shooting that movie. So when we made it out, our
Yeah.
whole lives,
Yeah. That's
you
you're
know, to
bonded
this
forever.
day,
Yeah.
we're still best friends.
Right.
You know, and not on no like call each other for holidays to take pictures for Instagram. Like,
Yeah.
yo, let me come over and help you move your furniture type
Got it.
shit.
Got
Right.
it. Yeah.
And it was funny because Hurt Locker, when I met with Kathryn, they wanted me to play another role. And I explained to her
Which
how
one?
they wanted me to play one of the other soldiers.
Okay.
And they had already cast Jeremy.
Okay.
Jeremy was the first person cast. And I explained to her how war wasn't about race. You know, the idea of a soldier risking his life is not about they will kill you whatever you
Yes.
look like.
Yeah.
So you can't say that this soldier should be white, this character is written white,
That's a
this
good point.
character is written. No, these are humans risking their lives, race and sex aside.
Right.
And we had a long conversation about that. And after that, she kind of saw what I was implying.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing this movie that never came out, and with this awful director. And
Haven't we all?
Dude, no. This dude he crushed it with
Haven't
awful.
we all?
And his name was Dan. I won't say his last name. And he was awful,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're shooting the movie in North Carolina. We go over by like 6 months in 2007. And Dan
didn't want that movie coming out.
Dan didn't want that
Dan
movie
didn't want
to
that movie
end,
coming out.
bruh.
No.
So I was supposed to leave to do Hurt Locker.
Uh-huh.
But we pushed 6 months. So Kathryn was like, look, you can't get out. I'm sorry. Maybe the next one. I'm like, bet. They go and offer it to another actor.
Uh-huh.
And he said no because it wasn't enough money. So they came back to me and they was like, look, we'll wait if you leave the day you wrap. I was like, man, I'll leave the week before I wrap. You ain't even got to
I'll leave right now.
I will drive to Jordan. You ain't even got to worry. So the day after I wrapped, I bounced and went to Jordan and we started shooting. And that movie literally started my career because one dude said no because it wasn't enough money.
The amount of times that happens, you know what I mean? That's I tell people all the time. If the bottom line for whether or not you are not going to do a movie is because of the money,
right?
You're handicapping yourself.
You're killing
You're handicapping yourself.
And that's what's so fun about it when you look at like characters and
right.
You know, because with you was so interesting. A lot of people might not know, like your voice acting game is crazy, and that's a hard part of the business to break into.
Hard.
And because I feel like I have a very great
You
voice.
Do. Real recognizes real.
But I never get voice jobs, right?
Yeah.
So I was in the window like between you and like James Earl Jones and Morgan Freeman, and I'm right in that middle window, and I never get jobs, right? So how did that work? How did that transition from film, voice, television? Because I feel like you know, around that time when you were doing Everybody Hates Chris, after that you did a lot of voiceover work.
Yeah.
And how did you venture into that part of your career to basically diversify your resume like that?
So when we were shooting Everybody Hates Chris, and it was during the writer's strike of 2008.
Old school.
During that strike, like right before it, I was like 14, 15, something like that. We came back and my voice had dropped.
Right.
And it scared production because now my voice was deeper than Chris Rock's voiceover, and it didn't make any sense anymore. So we knew that was already an issue, and I was trying to make that transition from child actor to adult. The voiceover space was the first space that allowed me to do that because I sounded a lot older than I actually was. So like when I went in for things to read for, I would either get, he looks too young, or he looks right, but he doesn't sound right. Like he don't sound like he's in high school. So the voiceover space was where I actually was able to, play a bit more and could do this kind of like superhero thing here and there until I was able to have my body and face catch up to where my voice had like just gone to. But I think there was also something really beautiful about it because so much of what I do a lot of times is very much so listening and responding. It didn't allow me to do that. Like I wasn't allowed to listen and respond on camera the way I usually would. So it forced me to figure out how to perform and I guess get what I was feeling on the inside out in a way that took my face away. Which now when I look at that, I'm like, it's the best training ground I could have possibly had. And I worked with great people like Cree Summer, who just recently came in and she did Abbott with us. And like she's mastered it in a way.
And nobody talks about it.
I don't know if anybody else can.
Cree kills it.
Cree.
Her voiceover game.
I don't even know how to explain it.
She's on every animated series.
Every show.
Every single show.
You want the show to do well? Get Cree.
Get Cree. Yeah.
Get Cree. And that's like working with people like her showed me that like there was a path outside of just trying to carve out a lane in TV or just trying to carve out a lane in film. You could go this way and make really good connections with people and then try shit. It's like a great place to try stuff and you never know. It may end up in there, it may not.
So how does that work? So I've been working at Warner Brothers all week. And I came off set yesterday and I realized I was standing on y'all's set. Right? Because there's like a big trash bag or something. And I see the two little like black kids' face with the alphabets. And I'm like, why does this look? This is the elementary school, right?
Mr. Eddie, my tooth is loose. If it falls out, do I eat it like I did last time?
I'm a little busy right now, okay?
So at that exact moment, one of those little tour golf carts went by, and the people are like, wow, Abbott Elementary, that's Captain America.
Those tours really get something.
Yo, it's weird.
You should pay for that. You should pay for those.
They shouldn't. I say every time one of those little tour carts come by, if they bring your name up when they get back and do like a question for the experience, you should get $100. Or at least
I would love that.
Something.
If you could go in and negotiate that for me with Warner,
that would be amazing.
That would be fantastic.
But I was standing outside y'all set and had my Oprah aha moment. And I realized you work with a lot of kids now. And it's the same kids.
Right? Keep the continuity consistent.
Yeah. So with you, like having been through that and these kids, like, how does that work? Like, do they ask you for advice or like, how do you offer advice? How does that work? Do you see the kid who's like, man, this dude is going to be trouble in about 5 years?
I've seen it a few times. I've seen it like 2 or 3 times. I offer advice to those who are paying attention, right? There's certain kids you can see who are looking at things a bit differently and they're asking, why is that light moving? Or why are we doing this again for this reason? And one kid asked me the other day, what does swinging a lens mean? And I was like, you're really interested in this. Let me explain to you what's happening there. And then you see their little light bulbs turn on. But then there's certain kids who come in. We had this one girl.
Kid. Little bit, just take you outside and get you.
And that's the thing that actually works well for the show is like, you'll have a kid who's just like, I'm not sitting still.
Right.
I don't know what you want from me. It's not going to happen. But it makes for great elementary school TV because that's what they're supposed to be here doing. For me, it's just about making sure that their experience on set is as conducive to a child's experience as possible. And for the ones who do, there's several kids who I passed along to my old child agent of just like, hey, there's something here and he wants to do this.
That's dope.
There's a spark, and Cindy Osbrink, one of the best child agents of all time. She had me, Dakota Fanning, everybody who just kind of made that transition. So I've definitely passed some names along, and I wouldn't be surprised if 10, 15 years from now, I'm hearing I got my first job on Abbott, and nothing would make me happier than to hear that.
That's amazing. I would never think.
Right.
So is your agent different now?
Yes.
Okay.
So Cindy kept me through the transition, which I thought was really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I turned 18, and she primarily handles younger clients, and I was like, should I leave? Like, how does this work? I don't know. And she was like,
rocking?
She said, no, not yet. When it's time for you to go, I'll tell you, and I'll hand you off. And she literally, I was like 21, 22. I had just done a movie called Dear White People. And it was right around then. She was like, I think you're ready to go.
Right.
And I was like, okay. And then she handed me off. So I'm at Gersh now, and that's where she's just kind of like handed me off there. But she does a really good job at taking kids where they are and building a career for them that's supposed to be long term.
Right.
So many people see kid actors as just like a very quick
get in, get out, get them out,
throw them away.
Yeah.
I don't know where I would be in my career now had I not been with somebody like her who could handle those transitions.
Right.
Because the transitions are very important.
Right.
They're huge here. You recently just made a very interesting transition, which I found very I love watching how the plays that actors make and why did you do that?
Yeah.
Interesting, because I know that you see something there. Being a guy who has done a lot of film, one, to see you transition into TV was particularly interesting, but then also comedy.
You left me for dead, asshole!
I thought you were dead, asshole.
A lot of people don't want to come to the comedy world, and I'm like, come play with us. We have a good time.
Yo, but it's just like voiceover. Comedy is hard to get into, bro. And if you just have to have the right, comedy, you have to know people.
Yeah.
Because it ain't like, oh, you did a good movie, I'm gonna put you in my comedy.
Right.
No, this industry can only see as far as their nose.
Right.
So it's like with comedy, they have to see you around, they have to hang out with you, they have to vet you through friends and be like, so you think he's funny? Or, stuff like that. Because it's not a thing of you being talented, oh, he can do this. And everybody's comic bone is different. That's the hard part.
That's the hardest part.
Like when we did The Night Before, Seth Rogen's
movie. Yeah.
So I go in for the audition. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if we have the same comedy bone, right? So go in for the audition, and I was like, wow, we have the same vibe.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell black jokes. You don't have to tell Jewish jokes. We can just tell good jokes, and you can give feedback, and we can run on that, and we can improv,
right?
Because I can improv with anybody.
Yeah, I can tell.
It's just when you come at me and be like, this is funny, say this, dude. I can't do the clown thing.
No.
That's the hard part. But that aspect of the business, because I've always wanted to do everything. I mean, I studied Commedia dell'arte.
Yeah.
So the idea of comedy is something different to me. And I see a lot of the stuff, like with y'all show, like Abbott Elementary, a lot of the comedy is situational comedy.
Hey, that's how we roll, Mel. Duding it up. Bloking it back.
Broing it down.
Like a lot of it is looks.
Right.
A lot of it is just reactions.
Right.
And for me, I look at it as a game of tennis.
Yes.
When you volley over
100%.
the net, if nobody's there to hit it back, you don't have a game. And I say that to say, like, when you doing Everybody Hates Chris, and then doing so much film and so much voiceover stuff, how difficult was it going into Abbott, not knowing what it was and not knowing it was going to blow up the way it did, and then you emerging as like the hot piece of ass on the show?
All these rules are so hard and rigid.
You street meat now, so how that work, because you got the episode now where you flexing and doing the pumps and the bump move. I'm just trying to figure out how that worked, bro. Like, how you feel about that?
Well, first, it was kind of like what you were talking about with Seth. me and Quinta did a sketch for a Black Lady sketch show on HBO,
Yep.
and it clicked. It clicked. It was like, oh, we have the same comedy bone. We think the same way. We don't have to. It's not work to make this work. I think had it not been with her specifically, I'm not sure I would have done this show.
Yeah.
There was something about her that made me go, I know we can make something good here.
Yeah.
And I think part of the transition that is getting not only your audience, but the industry to see you as an adult from a child actor is you have to make that, you got to become sexy at some point.
But a lot of people did it in the wrong way.
Right.
Because remember in the 90s and the early 2000s when we actually had like black shows with kids and families, you know, everybody would come off those shows and be like, oh, I got to be a killer or I got to kidnap babies on Law and Order. So you see me as an adult. Like, I think it's very profound the way you did it. Like I said before, you did it in a way that's like on some mature, you know, separate. I can watch this show and not tie you to that show.
I'm a heart first actor. That's just how I work. I'm gonna crack my heart open and I'm gonna show it to you. And I think that was the key here. It's not, I hate anybody who goes into any kind of love interest role thinking primarily, I'm gonna be sexy. Like that's such the surface of that. Like the goal here is not to be sexy, but the goal is to show your heart, and there's something sexy about that.
Right.
That was the idea when we went into it, and I think that's what Quinta and I bonded on immediately was we're heart first people.
Right.
We make a project, there has to be some soul here to fill out this space. Now, did I anticipate it going the way that it did? No, it blew up way more than I thought that it would.
Right.
Again, I was just trying to build the argument of staying power at that time. But I'll take it, and I think I'll put that in a lot of the credit of that in her hands.
So when you read the script for this season, when Ms. Bronson decided that she was going to have a secondary love interest, did you have issues with that?
I love that.
Yeah.
I know a lot because like people had asked me that. And even when we were on set, and I was like, what do you mean?
Was this personal?
Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? But I think I don't have anything to play if there's no conflict.
Right, because that's what's hard for me, like doing
know what I'm
TV.
saying?
I would make it personal because you have, 8 to 20 episodes.
Right.
So I would be by episode 10, I would take my man outside and be like, yo, bro. Like, not even on camera, man. You talking to my old lady.
Yeah,
you got to take it easy.
Let's throw some hands.
You know, this.
Thankfully, Josh Segarra is a beautiful actor.
Yeah.
Right? He brings a certain lightness and optimism. And another one of those guys, too, who's coming in heart first.
Right.
Quinta and I had been watching him on the other two during the strike because we had nothing else to do. So when she talked about bringing him in, I was actually really hyped off rip just because I found what he does and how he does it so interesting. And it adds another color. And to me, for Gregory, I need obstacles.
Right.
I can't just be pining over this woman and there's no obstacles to get to her. At some point, you just walk up and you're like, hey, are we doing this or are we not?
Right.
So him coming in was a really beautiful obstacle. And then we actually have some great scenes together that like you find some new aspects. I found insecurities in Gregory that I didn't know that he had by being able to do that with him. And that's having another actor in the room who gives you that much contrast is really, and I say this because I have a question for you. It's irreplaceable. In Twisted Metal, one of the things when I was watching it scared the shit out of me was the idea of working with Will Arnett while not working with Will Arnett.
Yeah.
You can hide, but I have ways to find you.
I've been waiting to ask you this all day. How does that work? You're working with one actor, but then you can't. Is Will there? Like, how does that work?
He's not, and it's a testament to Samoa Joe. Like, I was blown away by this dude from the first moment he stepped on set.
Wow.
I mean, first of all, he's a larger than life human being.
Yeah.
But he was doing everything with that mask on. He was saying he was acting his ass off. It was amazing because he and Will worked out this idea of what the character was going to be, and he was just doing like some circus type performance. Because it was all body work.
Right, it was all body work.
So it was literally like he was doing vaudevilles type shtick, knowing that he was going to be voiced over, but he knew all the lines, he hit all the jokes, he hit everything, and in a way that I don't think, this is his first time acting, I don't think a veteran actor could have done what he did.
Wait, hold on, this is his first time acting?
Yeah. Because he had
one of the hardest assignments any actor could have.
Crazy. And we thought, when we first met about it, we thought he was just going to come in and, Will would record the lines and then he would do the movements and I would react to that.
Right.
That's when it evolved into this thing of him being like, yeah, I can do it. And when the first day he stepped on set, bro, I was like, that's Sweet Tooth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's a heavy-handed mother, but he owned it, dude. He really, really owned it. And it was just something that was really surprising just because I didn't expect that of him.
Right.
So it took some getting used to.
Right.
But the first day we shot Sweet Tooth, it clicked. And then when Will went to the studio, he had so much to work off of that he literally just threw his voice in there.
Was there any concern on your side of not being able to match what Will was going to do? Because it wasn't pre-recorded.
Well, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that because Will was basically there to match Samoa Joe's gestures and body.
Right.
So everything he did was so grandiose.
Yeah.
And Will kind of took the track of Samoa Joe and utilized that for his performance. So it was a really interesting give and take that they did.
Okay.
And a dance almost. And they were in constant communication about what every scene was and what those moments was. And because we have, different directors on different blocks, all the directors were very aware of how to direct that performance in a way that it made sense with my character and with Stephanie Beatrice's character because we did the most with it.
Right.
But all of that is Samoa Joe, dude. He killed it. Killed it.
I was watching it, and at some point I was like, this may be one of the hardest shows to do on TV right now. Because one, you're dealing with source material that doesn't really give you a lot.
No source. Yeah.
Right. There is a source and there's a fan base, but there's no backstory built here. That's 100% up to you. And then you're dealing with a character that also doesn't have. You know what I mean? Like you're carrying all of it without having that much to pull from. Did you find that limiting or freeing?
No, it's freeing as hell. Because when we started looking at it, it was, Twisted Metal was a weird game because there was no, backstory.
No.
It was literally their cars, there's a demolition derby, blow each other up.
Right.
Whoever is the last to get blown up wins.
Right.
That was it.
That's it.
Right? And they gave you a little outline like this person fights, this person is mad at their mom, this person ran away from home. That's it. So we had the ability to just create this world. I'm a firm believer in you have 3 different realities in which you live.
Okay.
You have the reality in which you actually are. You have the reality in which you're perceived.
Okay.
And you have the reality in which you're described. So every character, when you read a script, the writer says he walks in melancholy and brooding. Then you have the other character saying, why do you seem so down? So now you have 2 ideas of what your character's walking into that room with.
Right.
And then your first line is, oh, I'm fine, don't bother, don't worry about me. So those 2 things informs how you say that line.
Right.
Right? So if you're like, I'm fine, that don't make no sense with everything on the script. So you live in 3 different realities. So with that, building John Doe, he really lived in this world of boundless possibilities, but at the same time, I had to take everything that Quiet was saying, everything that the writer was saying, everything that Samoa Joe as Sweet Tooth was saying, and kind of build the character and make him this quirky, awkward dude who really had no connection to anybody or anything.
Right.
He was a nomad.
Right.
You know, so it was so free, and there were so many things in this show that weren't on the page.
I
And
can
then
imagine.
it's like, if you don't tell me no and just press record, oh, call the police because it's going down.
Yeah, there's several times I was watching, I was like, oh, Anthony's just running. He's running. Somebody let him off the leash and he's just running.
And we shot it in New Orleans.
Oh,
so
yes,
I'm
you
like,
home,
I
yeah.
get good food and
Right.
a bed. Oh man, come
Yeah.
on. Like it was
Yeah.
it was the perfect storm.
Working in film and working in TV, two completely different mediums, right? They need to be approached very differently a lot of times. You're now taking a character that was developed and built out in film with Falcon and transitioning that to TV. What are the challenges that you feel like you face there? And do you feel as if it works better or more smoothly in one or the other?
You know, it's funny. It's television is very hard. And when we did my first episode of television was Law and Order. And it was,
Same.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Everybody,
Everybody, if you're in New York,
if you're in New
you're
York,
Law and
you
Order.
did it.
That makes
Yes.
you a real actor.
Yeah, exactly.
So I did, you know, but you had Mariska, I
Yeah.
had Vince, right?
Oh, okay.
So,
Got it.
So it was the hardest 7 days of my career. And I'm like, TV is real. TV is a different beast.
It's a grind.
Like TV is about stamina.
Yes.
You know, movies, I can handle a movie. You give me 3-4 months,
Right.
I'll punch anybody in the face.
Yeah.
But TV, that's 6 to 8 months, dude, that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So for me with Falcon Winter Soldier, bringing Falcon to that series, there was so much time to fill. And that's what you have, instead of a 2.5-hour movie, you have 8 hours to flush out.
Right.
And that's what scared me, and that's what bothered me, and that's what I feel like could take away from the point, the potency of the film. Because when the movie comes on, it's like, go, boom, 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 you're out.
Yeah.
And with the television, with the TV show or the streaming show, it's literally so much story and so much exposition and so much character that it's a daunting task to take those 5 to 6 months and really just put enough substance in there to make people want to watch for 8
and keep coming
12, keep coming back and back. And it you know, with Falcon going back and forth between the Disney Plus series and the movies, luckily it was a transition with just great leadership that they utilized that show to jump off him as Captain America. So they had something to aim towards instead of just making it an event.
Right.
So that made it easier.
Right.
But for the most part, it was a daunting task for me reading the first script, you know, the first group of scripts. Just how do you make that worth those 8 hours? Because that's what it is.
People don't realize that about TV, especially when you do it at a high clip. Like we do 22 episodes a year.
It's insane.
And I think they just get so used to them coming on week after
Right.
week. They're like, yeah, they got it.
Right.
It's like you have to build story. You have to keep people coming back. And when we do it for network versus streaming, that 30 minutes isn't 30 minutes.
Right.
We have 21 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
To actually get a story told here and stretch it over this long of an arc and keep it good and the quality high.
Now, a lot of people don't understand that. So the 30 minutes equaling 21. So with intro, commercials, all that stuff, your time is truncated by a third.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So how does it work as far as, are you able to go into the room and fight for stuff you want with your character? Or when they first come out with the season, like season 4, right? You guys are
we're starting that.
working on
Yeah.
that. So do you have input or a say in where you want your character to go? How do you want your character written? Because for me, what scares me about like TV or being on TV is the idea you have a group of people writing for you that's not your voice.
Yeah.
So they'll put you, I feel, in a compromised position.
They can.
And you got to fight your way out of that. So how do you get around that? How do you make sure that it's in your voice and you're telling a story that you feel is right for your character without being perceived as difficult and an asshole?
A lot of conversations and a lot of good communication. So we talk about, in our hiatuses, Quinta and I will talk a lot about what's coming and what to look out for and like kind of like how do we how do we shape this out, particularly with Janine and Gregory's relationship, because we have to really like protect that so well. But I think that it really does start with your showrunner. If your
Yeah.
showrunner wants to protect the characters and can hear them in your voice, then so can the room. Our room can hear a lot in our voice. But yeah, there are times, like we had one when we were just shooting our finale recently where something just didn't sit right with me. And it felt like we weren't protecting Gregory properly and that it was going to be really hard for me to turn this on a dime for what we knew was going to be coming in season 4. And sometimes it has to get a little tense.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's the collaborative effort that is TV.
But is there like a dude in the room? Because I feel like, Gregory.
Yeah. Oh, we do have one.
He's sensitive.
Yeah.
He's a horticulturalist. He ain't out here like banging on the block.
Right.
So is there a dude in your room?
Yeah.
One dude who's like, nah, he wouldn't do that.
I feel like that Jordan Temple.
Yeah?
Jordan Temple has written for a lot of shows. He's worked for Atlanta. He's done, work all over the place. He's the one where when I get his script for his episode,
Yeah.
butter right out of my mouth.
Okay, because
Butter right out of my mouth.
there was the episode I saw. It was like my girlfriend was watching the CCTV camera, y'all.
Oh yeah.
That's my little boo. Tell her, say what's up. So she was watching the CCTV of y'all, and Quinta was like, "Well, I was thinking we could explore this," and you were like, "I kind of moved on." Like, nah, man, what you doing?
And that's what we have to, that's the feeling we have to elicit. And I think so when we shot that scene and then the tail end of season 2, that finale, we shot both of those conversations because they mirror each other. Gregory trying to start a relationship with Janine and then her turning it down and then vice versa. We shot it, I want to say like 10 different ways, all on the spectrum of from its softest version to its harshest version, to find that middle ground, because the words on the page could only be tweaked but for so much.
Right.
We have to live in their experience and why they believe that this is or is not going to work. When I tell you there's so much back and forth over that, that's why what we found is you just have to shoot it all the ways.
Right.
If we don't shoot it all the ways, somebody's gonna have a problem with something.
Right.
And we'll find it in the edit. I still actually, those scenes I tried not to watch. I haven't seen that one. And everyone's so mad at me. It's like, I'm assuming, I don't know which one they took, but I'm assuming it's one of the harsher ones. Because I need to just live in his experience. I can't really see it.
Right.
But it's hard to do over that many episodes for that long.
Yeah, man.
Maintaining the integrity of a character and not just throwing them under the bus for a joke or for a splashy moment for ratings.
Right.
It's very difficult to do on network TV for 22 episodes with multiple seasons.
So what's your preference? I mean, because like I said, you've done all of it except drop a rap album. So, and if you want to make a Drake diss track.
Now's the time.
Let's
get in.
Let's
might as well get
Come
in now.
on.
Everyone's
I got
doing
bars.
It.
I got bars.
Let's go. I'm fine with that. We might as well get in while we fit in.
So what's your preference? Because you've done so much.
Oh.
Like if someone can say you can do one thing, live good, eat good for the rest of your career and be happy, would you do television, film, or voiceover?
Television. I love TV. I absolutely love TV. I love it because it's hard. I love the challenge of 22.
Yeah.
I love the consistency because I can grow with this character over time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing, I'm a development guy, and having multiple years to continue to build and flesh this person out, probably because my first show was a network TV show.
Yeah.
I'm a TV guy. I've realized that over time. That's where I thrive. That's what I love. Everyone's coming to TV now, and there's some really good TV, so it's great. Everybody, so it's a good thing to have right now. But same question for you, because now that you're in the space on both sides.
I'll say this, and it's just like a joke between me and my friends. Like TV money is different. It's different. And it's just like, it is the most obnoxious, like, I'm mad. It took me 23 years.
Come over here.
Like
we live well.
My boy's on the show, and I'm like, you doing what with what? Like, how is that possible? And it's crazy when looking at the business. Now it's hard because everybody who you want to work with is doing TV. So you can work with Ron Howard on TV. You don't have to do a movie.
Right.
You know, there are people you can work with that you dreamed of working with, where if they do a 2-hour movie, they have way more roles on a TV show that you can get in and work. So I enjoy. I don't know if I could do a 22, 23 episode show.
It's a grind.
Like a solid 8 to 10. You know, that would be, you know, Barry Jenkins, 8 to 10 episodes, 6 months, Toronto, summer, you know, south of Spain. You know what I mean?
It's fun.
I would do that
It's
show.
great, yeah.
I would do that.
Make some money, it'd be great.
You know what I mean? Eat fish, drink wine, grapes. I would do cheese plates. I'm a charcuterie dude now. You know, I feel like when you get on TV, you discover charcuterie.
Yeah, you do.
Like you start eating brie.
Yeah. I mean, it's always been a part of my diet because I've been on TV for so long. But yes, no, I understand. Yeah, that's a thing.
You move past salami now.
That's it.
You got
I've got
cuts.
I've got nuts, honeys, jams.
You got that prosciutto plate.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with that.
But no, I love that because now you can do TV. And you could do TV with Anthony Mackie.
And it's respected.
That's a beautiful thing.
You know, it used to be you do TV and everybody's like, oh, that's the TV guy.
Yes.
But now it's
I was
like,
there. I was in that era.
Course,
yeah.
Of course. But that's what's so amazing about your career. But now, like, if you do it, you can do some quality. Like, nobody on Game of Thrones is hurting for work.
No, they're fine.
You know, nobody is looking at these dudes
as they
like,
should be, because it should be a respected art form.
100%. 100%. Because you know how hard it is.
Right.
But it was great hanging with you, dude.
It was always a pleasure speaking to you, man. We should do some TV.
We should.
Do some TV.
I'm definitely gonna come in for an episode.
That would be
if y'all got Questlove on.
Yeah, you fit in our world.
So
too.
wait. So okay. Last thing. So when watching Jalen Hurts act, did it make you feel like a better actor?
Okay. One, I'll preface it with this. Jalen did do that in the midst of trying to make a playoff run.
No. I'm not mad.
And all that.
I'm not mad.
But yes.
I'm just saying.
But that's the thing. I can't throw a ball 70 yards. It's just as hard to throw a ball 70 yards as it is to land a joke.
100%.
And we have mutual respect on that.
Mutual respect. Mutual respect. That's love.
Hell yeah.
It's a blessing.
Nothing but a pleasure.
Congrats again.